We're going to be making doll shoes out of hot glue today. Besides the glue sticks, the first thing you're going to need is a hot glue gun. Be sure and plug it in, let it get good and hot. Here is the cast I made using oven-baked plastic clay. I took an old doll shoe and pressed it into the clay and then removed it. This is what the mold looks like after the doll shoe has been removed. Another tool you're going to need for your project is a screwdriver that has a round shaft. You're going to be heating the shaft with this screwdriver. You may also need an X-Acto knife in case you have to cut the plastic mold. Here's another handy tool. You'll use it to shape the plastic clay mold. If the shoe doesn't come out clean, you can make corrections with this tool. This tool has round points on the end, so it's not sharp, and is also used for adjusting and correcting imperfections in the plastic oven-baked clay. The oil we'll be using today is canola oil. We use it to lubricate the mold that the plastic glue will be going into so it will release. You pour some vegetable oil, it doesn't have to be canola, and you'll use a Q-tip to dip it in the oil, which will eventually end up in the shoe mold. I'm now coating the shoe mold with the oil so that the plastic hot glue will release from the mold once it's cooled. I applied liberal amounts of the vegetable oil because I don't want to tear or have to fight with the hot glue trying to get it out of the mold once it's hardened. I put it around the outside of the impression as well. Once your glue gun is good and hot, this is when you stick in the hot glue. Squirt it in liberal amounts, deliberately, and as quick as you can. I'm trying to remove air pockets as I stick the tip into the heel. Any imperfections in the casting will be smoothed away using the hot screwdriver blade, or I should say the shaft of the screwdriver, as you'll see later in this video. But the main point is to get the glue into the mold as quickly as you can in liberal amounts. And don't miss any specific areas. Fill it in real good, even if some of it goes over the edge of the indentation or where it's supposed to go into the mold. I'll even squirt it around the edges, around the outside of the mold in liberal amounts, as you can see. Better to use too much glue than not enough, because you don't want to miss any spots. I always apply extra to the heel since it shrinks some. It shrinks after it cools. I'm using my gas stove to heat up the screwdriver blade. The screwdriver blade must be hot enough to melt the hot glue so that you can smooth out the surface of the mold. Be careful not to burn the screwdriver handle. Once the screwdriver handle is good and hot, you'll use it to smooth the surface of the hot glue that's in the mold, as I'm demonstrating here. It will melt the hot glue as it goes across the surface of the mold, making it smooth and filling in all the gaps. You will more than likely have to reheat the screwdriver several times to accomplish this. Be careful not to burn yourself. Wipe off the excess hot glue from the screwdriver before reheating. I'm coming back with the hot screwdriver one more time to finish smoothing out the hot glue melt. It's a little bit heavy in the heel, but with a hot screwdriver shaft, it'll just melt back and leave you with a smooth surface. Now you want to wipe off the excess hot glue from the screwdriver. Here's what the finished mold looks like. The hot glue being inside the oven-baked plastic clay. And you can get your fingernail or some other tool under it, and it will peel right out. It will lift right out. It's not very hard to get the sole of the shoe out, but the hardest part is removing the heel portion of the shoe. I use the X-Acto knife to cut any excess glue that may have squirted through the mold and possibly has stuck to the table, so I'm able to get the heel to release more easily. There is a small hole in the bottom of this mold, and that is to let the air, gases, and make sure that the hot glue fills in the entire heel. But I'll just nip that little portion off, like you can see here in the video. After cutting the bottom of the heel off while it's still in the mold, I'm going to be putting in some oil underneath, in between the hot glue and the oven baked plastic clay. That is to lubricate the heel. Again, I mentioned the heel is the hardest part to get out of the mold. And this is just plain vegetable oil, nothing special, nothing expensive, and just a Q-tip swab. I lubricate around the heel area because I'm going to try and force it in and around the edges of the mold and the hot melt glue. I also put some on the heel area on the back of the mold, trying to loosen up the heel portion of the shoe. Here's what it looks like after the flat part of the sole has been removed and it's well lubricated with oil. I'm going to try and release the heel portion of the shoe. There you can see it's starting to come loose right now. And I had this little bamboo stick that I use, like for making shish kebabs. And if you push the bottom of the hole where the heel is, it should just push out if everything's lubricated correctly. And there you have it, a roughly molded shoe made from oven baked plastic clay using hot melt glue. It looks and is shaped just like the original shoe. Now the only thing left to do is to touch it up. Trim off the excess hot glue. It looks like the original shoe shape and size and will fit the doll that it's intended to fit. The hot glue can be easily trimmed with a nice sharp pair of scissors. You can see the excess plastic hanging off the sides of the shoe. That needs to be trimmed off. The toe portion has some excess glue on it as well. But this shoe is as thick and has the same shape as the original. The original shoe. And I trim off some around the heel. You could actually make this shoe quite smaller just by trimming it down, and it might fit a different doll. But I'm making this shoe for a specific doll. I understand this shoe, made from real plastic, is about $20 a pair. And I've made this with just 2 sticks of hot melt glue and some plastic oven clay. The rough edges will be smoothed off in a few moments, and I'll show you how to do that. I like to use my hot melt glue gun and touch the edges of the shoe or any imperfections very lightly and very quickly. It'll give it a nice sheen and a smooth surface. Makes the shoe look good, as you can see. Very quickly and very lightly. You don't want to melt the shoe. Just finish it off, giving it a smooth, shiny surface. And there you have it, a hot melt glue shoe. Can you imagine that? A hot melt glue shoe. Probably cost you pennies to make that. I've made 9 pairs of shoes using this one plastic clay mold, and it seems to be holding up just fine.